Welcome back to another inspiring episode of The Outspoken Artist. I'm your host, Giancarlo, and today we have a truly special guest with us. Someone who not only captures moments through his lens, but also documents memories that last a lifetime. Joining me today is photographer and videographer Sam Guillermo. Sam's journey has been one of transformation. From his early days as a musician to finding his passion in photography, his work is deeply rooted in empathy, vulnerability, and storytelling. Whether he's capturing the delicate art of boudoir photography or creating legacy videos for those facing life's most challenging moments, Sam's ability to create a safe and supportive environment for his clients is nothing short of remarkable. Today, we'll dive into Sam's unique approach to photography and how he uses his craft to help others reclaim their power, tell their stories, and leave a lasting legacy. We'll also explore the importance of community collaboration and the lessons Sam's has learned along the way. I can't wait for all of you to hear more about his vision for the future and how he plans to continue making an impact through his art. Help me welcome to the show, Sam. Sam, man, how are you today?
Today's good. Today was a good day. Kind of went out, try to set up the studio, clean everything up. It's one of those days. It's definitely a Monday.
Tell me, man, tell me about your studio. Where are you set up at?
So I'm in Baltimore City in Maryland, right near Morgan State University. Yeah, right previous to that, we were at a brownstone in Mount Vernon, which is like, if you're from this area, it's kind of like the spot to get, like, it's prime real estate. It's really beautiful, but it was ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, that's my struggle, man. I'm over here in north of Tampa, and the Tampa market, ever since it boomed in the last year and a half, they're wanting like $4,000-5,000 for like this much space, and
Yep.
it's just like I don't even have like 9 foot or 10 foot ceilings. It's like how are you supposed to work with an office building that's designed to be for doctors, right? But how long you been there for at this new location?
New location, been here for less than a year. I think we just been here for about 6 months.
And is that location primarily for your photography work or your video work?
Photo and video and production. So everything from our own, like photos, sessions, portraits, some video work, some interview work, and then some podcast stuff as well. And then we also rent it out through like different mediums like Peerspace and Gigster and all that other stuff.
That's awesome. School season's probably upon you, right? How's that
Yep.
going on your side? You have elementary years, right, with your son?
Yeah. Yeah. So little one about to jump in there. Yeah, man. It's wild. It's wild. They when people, they say that and they grow up so fast. They do, man. It's just really fast.
I
Everything's
tell,
happening at the speed of light.
I tell you, I have three teenagers now. So it feels like yesterday that my youngest was getting into middle school. Now he's in eighth grade. And I'm like, oh my God, he's about to be in high school. And then
You're gonna send them off to college, bro.
yeah, the middle one's in 11th grade. So, it's going to be all college applications and SATs and whatnot. So, and then before I realize it, then the youngest one will be doing that. And then, that's it, man. Like, God, I miss the young days, man. But I have no complaints there. So tell me, man, what are you up to for the next like 30, 60 days? What you planning on your side of
Oh,
the Maryland
there's
over
a,
there?
there's a lot of stuff happening. A lot of conversations with different brands, different manufacturers, and stuff that have been conversations I've been having for a while, that are now developing into relationships and whatnot. My workshop is coming up. I have a 2-day, third day optional workshop happening in September that I'm super pumped up and excited about. And yeah, just trying to get everything ready. We have this humongous property. The house, I think, is about 4,000 or 5,000 square feet inside, and the house sits on about 30 odd acres of land. So there's definitely outdoor space, pools, and just an enormous amount of backdrops to shoot in. It also has a decked out barn that's been rehabbed. That the upstairs has been, like, they've opened up the windows. So like now you have the barn to shoot in, the house, and the outdoor space. The owner of the property has gotten like this fountain that they imported from like Morocco. It's insane. It's insane.
You only have a few days for this?
So
You
yeah,
need like a whole week, man.
right? Yeah, so we're having 2-day workshop at the property. The third day optional add-on is for video and intensive, and then basically we're just hammering out video for people, for photographers who haven't dove in head first into video and don't understand video and want to have a grasp and more of a hands-on approach. I know for me personally, I couldn't just go to YouTube or whatever. I needed to get with somebody who knew what to do. So that's what the video intensive third day add-on is going to be. It's just going to be like from start to end, what to do, your settings, how to edit, what to edit, and getting your head wrapped around with the photography language in regards to grading, shooting in log, and what that looks like in contrast to like raw. And now you're shooting in log and all
Wow.
that what stuff.
That's a good investment. People don't realize that. We spend all this money on gear, right?
Yeah.
I got plenty of gear that is just collecting dust.
Yeah.
And some of the best money spent for me has been on education. And
Yep.
actually, sometimes if you like somebody's work, a lot of the times they host either a workshop or have a masterclass online. Be surprised. People should be surprised how much value you get out of that. And immediately you might think, oh my God, it's $500, it's $1,000. Yes, I know. But what you get out of it, if you're going to put it into the work that you do, it's absolutely, absolutely worth it. Now, you said we. Are you doing this yourself or are you collaborating with another artist?
So my wife and I are basically naked humans. Basically, she is the female counterpart to this entire thing, and we'll probably get into the weeds about male photographer and boudoir. But she's always with me at my shoots. It's another layer of comfort for most of my clients, since most of my clients are women.
Right.
Even though we do cater to men, we do cater to couples, thruples, and different lifestyles and people who come into the studio. Um, yeah, she's there as a layer of comfort for people who, you know, you have to tread softly. A male presence in its own, on its own, just alone, brings up stirs up a lot of emotions when it comes to the dichotomy in society that we live in, and never mind taking photos in what would be, I guess, your most vulnerable state,
Right.
other than physical intimacy. So I don't take it lightly, and I've done the work. Both, I always tell people, if you want to be a great artist, go to therapy.
Oh man, amen to that one.
Uh,
So tell me, have you always started in boudoir, or where's the origin of Sam's photography?
Not at all, man. So, oof. I'll tell people. Well, I'll tell your podcast a little bit about like the origin story. So I thought that early on, I thought music was going to be my wheelhouse. I'm a musician by trade. I played drums for a very long time, but I also play keys and guitar and bass, and kind of that was my life from like age 13 to 25. 25, I got married, and I said to myself, well, I guess everybody else gets grown-up jobs now. Let me get a grown-up job. So I got myself a cubicle job in corporate America. And man, let me tell you, so people who do creative work and go into a cubicle, it's
That's
purgatory.
rough.
It's death,
That's rough.
bro. Sheets and like just all these other things. And as that was eating away at my soul, I also went back to school and did all the things. Um, I was always involved in ministry. My dad is a pastor, and I thought that I was going to follow in my dad's footsteps and do the whole ministry thing. Did the whole theology thing, got ready for it. Eventually got a phone call from a church down here in Maryland. I'm from Brooklyn, New York originally. If you hear the accent sometimes when I say stairs or coffee, it'll come. But eventually got a call, said, hey, our guy is leaving to Germany. Would you like to come down and take the vacancy? And I was like, I don't know. Long story short, we took the gig, came down and started doing life. One one small thing after the other. We decided to have our son around that same time, since we no longer had to live in a 400 square foot apartment in Brooklyn. We're like, we don't have to put the baby in the sock drawer. Let's do the family thing. And we did. And it wasn't too long after that that life
Right.
happens. Between not having a tribe, not having a community, being in a new place, not having family and whatever, one thing led to another. And yeah, there was a divorce that took place, and like things started crashing down progressively. And because my job was tied to my marital status, I lost my son, my wife, my job, my chosen community, anything and everything that I knew, and kind of had to start from scratch. I lived in a Walmart parking lot, and the only thing I was armed with was my camera, and I took every gig. As long as it was food, I was there. Yeah, I did weddings, bat mitzvahs, uh, portraits, headshots, whatever, anything. Eventually, somebody asked me to do a boudoir session. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know the language. I didn't know anything. Uh, did it, shared it with my colleagues and other creatives, and said, "Is this any good?" They were like, "Yeah, this is more than good. You should really dive into this." And I fell in love with the encouragement that this brought to people. I fell in love with the storytelling that's behind it, and the fact that, I don't know, I guess my background in ministry and in the church and all that other stuff, where in the religious space, you're always trying to help people. And I guess this way was a different avenue or a different way to do that. Yeah, it's been an incredible journey to see people in a different light. And it's been incredibly rewarding to know that I'm trusted with some really sensitive subjects. Like, I had a young lady not too long ago come over, and she said the first phone call she made after her 7-year battle in court from a sexual assault case was to call my studio because she wanted her power back. She wanted to take control of the narrative because this person had taken control of the narrative over the last 6.5, 7 years. And I never take it lightly. I never take it lightly. A lot of us come in to situations and we don't know we don't know what our clients are walking in with, or what kind of story that they have and why they're choosing to have this kind of session. So I always tread very lightly in regards to that aspect, because if somebody books with naked humans, it's usually because they resonate with the incredible heroes that are displayed on my feed, that are displayed throughout my work. And it's just beautiful to see. And yeah, it's been
No, I mean, you built an incredible portfolio. I mean, obviously, Naked Humans, which it's spelled differently.
yeah.
It's got no vowels. So
Yep.
I'll make sure to put it there on the screen so people can see it. It was easy, actually. It's actually a lot easier to type it when you're like, how do you spell Naked Humans? And then you just don't do the vowels. It's actually, it was quite easy. But yeah, you have that. And I think you labeled yourself as a milestone photographer. We'll talk about the videography, which I'm extremely intrigued in. Can you were talking about when you're at Walmart. I'm curious. Not everybody has that perspective. Not that you wish it on anybody, right? To have to live in a parking lot. Can you share a little bit of how that particular experience has helped you shape as a person and also as an artist?
It was rough. It was rough. It brought me back to like van days with the band, of like just eating what you can at like a 7-Eleven and then going to the next show and going to the next show. But like, this was um this was particularly different because I thought I had done all the things that you are supposed to do. You go to school, you get the job, you have the
Right.
family, and having to start from the ground up again at that point in my life, at 33, was particularly different. Yeah, like trying to scour around for food and not knowing if I have enough gas to get back, and like going through those motions. You definitely pay your dues, but it gives you insight. It keeps you humble and it keeps you hungry as well. It's like a twofold. I usually tell people I would never be able to be in the state that I'm at or empathize in the way that I can if it weren't for the pain, if it wasn't for the process. And the process oftentimes molds you into the human being that you need to be. Oftentimes, life needs to happen in order for you to have the necessary tools
Right.
available to get into the next thing.
No, I would agree. Definitely, life will shake you and mold you into what you need to be, and it's up to you to figure out if you're gonna you're going to take it to the next level. While you were going through those times, was there a pivotal moment or anybody who extended a hand and helped you get out of that?
Oh yeah, 1000%. Yeah. Yeah, man. So somebody knocked on my window as I was in in the parking lot. They're like, "Oh, hey, you look familiar." I was like, "Oh God, please don't. I don't want to look familiar right now." You're that photographer from Facebook, because the Facebook groups and all that other stuff. And at that point, I was just taking photos of like the Baltimore skyline and like outdoor and street photography and stuff like that, just to keep sane. That's what I would do. I would just go out and shoot, and I would post it up on these groups. And like, oh yeah, yeah, thanks. And it was like, oh, your work is pretty, whatever. I was like, thanks. And they were like, what are you doing here? And I was like, oh, I kind of live here. It's awkward exchanges. Yeah, and there's just like hard to like move on to the next conversation. They're like, okay, bye. They come back an hour and a half later. They're like, hey, I spoke with my husband. We want to offer you our guest room till you get up on your feet. And I lost it. I lost it. I started bawling and crying
Wow.
because I I had gone through the entire winter living in my car, and I didn't have a warm meal or a warm bed. I was just like, yeah, no, I'll take it. I'll go. I didn't even know what to expect. These people could have been serial killers for all I knew. Um, and yeah, beautiful family. They took me in, three kids. Later on, as conversations happen and their story begins to unfold, I figure out that they're from the LGBTQIA community. And here I am, uh, being who I was uh, in my previous life. I had made up my mind about this entire community. I had marginalized them. I had made up my mind and made my own decisions and come to my own conclusions. And they're the first ones to open their doors, their refrigerators, and pour into me and love on me until I was back on my own feet. And it was from there, from the ashes. It was from there that yeah, I was able to pick up a bunch of stuff. If it wasn't for that family and if it wasn't for therapy, I don't know where I'd be, to be honest. I think people who resonate with my work and people who resonate and book with me is because there's a semblance there of that underdog. There's that semblance of like getting to that place, to that next step to climb that mountain. And I see that reflected in most, if not all, the people who walk in through our doors in our studio, is the fact that people are trying to figure out how to get from here to here and work through the stuff that life often throws at us.
Hey, man. Yeah, it's crazy. You know what I've come to realize? I've come to realize that people, unfortunately, there's so much division, right, out there. It doesn't matter if it's here in the US, in the world, or whatever. Kindness, it's in the person. You know what I mean? If you're a kind person, if you're going to be out there hoping to bring positivity to people, doesn't matter what community you're in. It's just, it's within you. And those people's kindness, they, they helped you when you needed that reach, and that's great, man. That is absolutely great. Taking all of that and bringing it back to Naked Humans, what drew you to that type of work? What is it that you find most fulfilling about capturing such intimate and personal moments with your clients?
I think it resonates with the same kind of music that I wrote when I was in my music days. It was all deep, hard hitting stuff. Like before I met the woman that my kid's mom, I was in a relationship with a young lady, and she died of breast cancer. And I thought I was going to marry that girl. And life has a way of throwing wrenches into situations. And what I would talk about is what I know. And it's the struggle. And I think for me, particularly, coming from my religious background and my upbringing, being a Latino and having the machismo mindset of
Yeah.
whether that be gender roles or what a man is supposed to do or what a woman is supposed to do, bro, like just diving head first into uncomfortable conversations and being available to hear the other side of the story, like understanding that I could be wrong, that the way that maybe I was brought up or that I was raised could be brought into question. Like it takes a very specific human being to sit with those things and that those notions and those ideas and realize that there may be another way. I guess for me, people come to the studio to get these photos for whatever reason. Maybe they want a thirst trap and they want to put it up on Instagram. Maybe they've gone, and maybe it's a serious situation where, like previously, this young lady, 6.5, 7 years, and in the court, sexual assault or whatever in between, mommy makeover. I just had a baby. I don't know my body and whatever. People come to the studio for whatever the reason, fill in the blank, to get that outcome. But inadvertently, there is therapy for me as well. It's a lesson for me as well, because every single person is teaching me something new about the female experience, women in our society. Like being a man, I don't even, like previously, I never even thought of the 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 things, any of the underlining items that may come in, words that we use, that to us may not mean anything, but
Right.
maybe in a context in a room with another woman may bring up different feelings for that specific human being. And coming around the idea of every day is an opportunity to better myself, not only for the sake of my clients, but for the sake of me being a better human being each and every single step of the way. So yeah, I think it's people come and get the photos, but they're giving me the experience of, I never thought about it that way, and applying all this experience that's walking in through my door, and me growing in empathy and growing in emotional intelligence and knowing how to, I feel like I unlock achievements every single time I meet a client, because I'm able to speak to different things, different situations, and be sensitive to topics, be sensitive to emotions, be able to read a room better, understand what will provoke a laugh, a smile, bring comfort to a situation, whether it's somebody who's lively or is super anxious, right? How do we deal with that? Because at the end of the day, we're tasked as photographers or creatives to produce something that'll
Right.
resonate with the person who hired us to do that. And I tell people that it's not your technical aptitude, as important as it is. Yes, read the book from front to back. Yeah, understand the tool that you're using, but your ability to see people, to see the humanity in a situation or a person, is far more useful than you knowing the power settings on your flash.
I would agree. Yeah, a lot of people will know the power settings and they'll hone in on their light meter and etc. And that's all great and everything, but that's not going to get what makes that person who they are out. You'll just get a picture out of it. And yeah, understanding after talking to someone where they're coming from and whatnot. I'm also of Latino background. And to your point, I don't think they tell us or teach us how to communicate, right? It's like, go to work, do this, provide. That's about it. And we'll say some things sometimes that, like you said, to us is fine. But then you think about it like, oh yeah, that can be misinterpreted in many different ways, right? That could be a significant other or anybody else, because we talk as men in one way, but when you start to understand how our words can have impact, and once you say something, you can't take it back. And this is where therapy comes into play, right? They help you see things that what you're putting out to the world may not be perceived exactly how you think it is in here. So understanding how to reach your client, understanding how they need to be approached. Maybe who was the podcast that you were with Mark? I forgot his last name right now. I
Matt?
listened to it, and Matt was talking about. You were telling him how you have to reach the energy, right? Some people need that high power energy. Some people need that low energy, and it's up to you to be able to match the right cadence. Otherwise, you have a missync, and it shows the tiniest little disconnect between the photographer and the subject. It is going to show. Do you have any stories on where you've had this disconnect and you were able to get it all back together with a client?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to pivot, and you oftentimes need to shoot in the dark. And for me specifically, it's just like trying to figure out what the happy medium is and walking into situations. As I've grown in my business and as I've grown in my craft, I've learned to ask the important questions now. But in the beginning, whew, it's a crapshoot. You don't know what you're getting into. You don't know who you're meeting. You don't know who you're taking photos of. It's only now that I built in questionnaires into my like workflow and get to know a person and understand where they're coming from and their life experiences and all that other stuff, because it gives me a little peek inside as to who I'm dealing with. But like the stories, bro, for days, and walking into situations, again, because my wife is with me at all my shoots. You know when the wife gives you the eye, the whole like, I can't believe you just like those. And I'd be like, what? Like, I don't understand. And like when we're on our drive back home, we're like, that was completely out of line. I know you didn't mean anything by it, but like it's like that can be taken any which way. And being able to be receptive to those things like replay it and go, ugh. Like try to put yourself in the other person's shoes of like,
Right.
maybe that didn't, yeah, that phrase probably meant that wasn't a good idea. Yeah. But like I think there are mile markers in creatives, specifically in the photos, since we're in this. There is the excitement around getting the camera, and then you taking and spraying and praying, right? That's
Right.
that's step one. You're excited, you get back, you don't know what to do. You're shooting in auto. Second unlock is when you're shooting in manual and you figure out how this thing actually works and get it to do what you want it to do. And then you finally invest on a lens. Usually people get their nifty 50, there's something with a low open aperture type of situation, and they shoot wide open. Like everything's wide open, everything's bokeh, everything's fall off. And then you get to this place of like, okay, maybe I should bring it down. I'll get sharper images and realize how to get sharper images. I think around that time, for me, anyways, I I moved from taking a photo to documenting memories. There's a shift that happens. I don't know quite how to explain it, except for like my whole, again, because of the music background. When I was playing drum, when I was learning how to play drums, I was really technical on what my hands needed to do and how they needed to do it in order to get the rhythm, the pace, and the dynamics that I needed for a specific song or genre. Once I had the technical aptitude, I was able to let that go, almost like breathing. You don't think about breathing. And in the same vein, like the music part, I didn't think about the the sticking or the timing of the song. I was able to feel and listen and understand what was happening in the room so that I can then add myself and my personality to the song. And in the same way, once you've got that technical aptitude in your photographs, in your photography, in your journey, you make this pivot from taking photos to documenting memories. And it's a huge shift in documentary photography. I mean, if you're doing stuff on like sports photography or like maybe like retail and doing like product photography, it's a different thing. But like documenting the human experience, there's a shift that happens. And I think most successful photographers understand how to pivot from taking a photo and documenting memories. And success could be measured a gazillion ways. A lot of times when we use the term success, we think about money immediately. But I think the people who make work worth observing, looking at, and being inspired by, that's what I mean by success.
No, that's great. And yeah, we'll say that pivot that you're talking about. I'll tell you a quick. I just remembered. God, I haven't thought about this in years. I remember I had a professor tell me, and this is when I learned everything. I was like, oh, I'm good at this. I have that nifty 50. I had 100 millimeter. Everything. So much bokeh. So much. Everything was blurry. Everything was blurry. I'm so proud of the work that I did. This is like, critique. I put everything there. Professor tells me, look, this image is technically perfect, but why does it exist? And I was like, because it's pretty. He's like, yeah, but what's the point? Like, honestly, like it's a picture. It's a person. But why? Why did you take it? Because I wanted to take it. It's like, how about on the next one, try to add some meaning to it? And I think to your point, when you made that pivot to capture those moments, is when you injected everything, and it just now you're actually capturing a moment in history, a moment in that person's life, a milestone to your point in that person's journey. Even that woman that wanted to take control of her life again. It's definitely quite impactful. I would ask you, but I know you have a lot of these stories. Could you share a time in your photography before we pivot to video that it was just a very impactful moment, not only for the client but also for yourself? Just that particular experience.
Right before COVID, I had a gentleman come through, and not a lot of men at that point had scheduled boudoir shoots with me. This gentleman came through. You would never think the story. And again, this is before questionnaires, before any of that. So usually I had people come in and I didn't know where on their journey of life they came. And black gentleman looked like he works out at the gym. Looks like he's very proud of where he's gotten with his physique. As we're doing, I think we're on the second outfit and we're doing different levels of undress. I'm posing and getting him in the right atmosphere. We got the music going and all that other stuff. I start asking him questions. He starts opening up. I finally got to like, hey, why'd you decide to book the shoot? He tells me, well, I experienced a lot of childhood sexual trauma. And the way that I processed that was eating. Food became my comfort. And I realized that if the more weight I put on, the more people would stay away from my body. And as he's saying all this stuff and the literally the environment and the atmosphere is starting to change, not in a negative way, but more in like you can you could almost tangibly feel like the weight coming off as he was expressing this. I don't know if this was his first time saying it out loud. I don't know if it was his first time telling his story the way that he was. But as he was saying those things, like you can feel like this is now a sacred space. This is now a space where healing is going to start happening. Like I got choked up and emotional because again, back to the Latino, person of color, immigrant story, whatever. Men are not allowed to cry. Men are not allowed to show emotions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You go down the list, and here I am in front of another man who's not only being vulnerable, but has finally taken charge and taken control of something that otherwise they felt like they were out of control and didn't have the control of. And I could not help it but to it stir up emotions in me. And that specific session was incredibly impactful. And I think it started the journey of me understanding how powerful this really is. And, you know, there are a lot of men who are in this intimate photography space for the wrong reasons. There's countless stories of guys with cameras, right? But I believe that with the time, the patience, and the dedication for you to get aligned with a purpose, you can somebody's perspective on life, period. And I always encourage fellow men to jump in front of the camera and be vulnerable and be sexy. I always tell people like that when people experience the opposite sides of success or empowerment, a woman being in charge of a company and taking it from 0 to 100, it's got to be feel amazing because in history that was a space that was reserved only for men. And as a woman, I can imagine the incredible like empowerment that feels like of taking a company from 0 to 100. In the same vein, like a lot of women, this is general statement, not across the board, find their power in their bodies. So whether it is that that body creates life, some people are not able to do that, but for the majority, it's this whole space of creating life and your body being the power. If men would tap into that a little bit more, I think they'd be able to tap into and unlock a lot of stuff that they wouldn't otherwise be able to see. I got my boudoir session. That's another impactful moment for me, is allowing somebody to take the reins and me not having control whatsoever. And as a creative and as a photographer, oftentimes we're the ones who get our pictures taken the least.
Right.
uh it's hilarious, but it's we are the ones who get our pictures taken the least. And I try to make it a thing that anytime I'm in like a WPPI or we're going to see each other at Peculiar,
We
I'm
are.
going to pull every photographer that I could possibly pull and say, hey, put your camera down for a second, let me take your photo. Because there's we don't book our sessions. We don't do anything, but I think a lot of us should. I think a lot of us should. Uh, I think we should book sessions with other photographers that we look up to. I think we should get our pictures taken, because I think this community in particular, I know that a lot of it is bred within competition, and this is my area, your area, or this area. But I think if we were to tap into each other and kind of like book each other and work together, I think it breeds a lot of a better mentality, a better environment for creativity to actually flourish.
I agree. I agree. It's funny enough. I have an interesting one that happened today. I'm on Facebook. Somebody posts something on the models of Tampa Bay, and immediately it starts, right? Some of them, I always click on some of the profiles and be like, Yeesh, like, oof, stay away from that one. But then I see someone that I think you might know, Richolas Lewis, post, and he's like, oh, here's my Instagram. And of course, I'm like, you know what? I actually wrote up a whole thing about like, hey, I think you should go with Richolas Lewis. And it's like, this guy is beyond talented, and trust me, this is coming from a talented photographer. In addition to that, it's like his visual eye is just something completely different that's out there. So if you can work with him, work with him. I hope they do. I hope they work together. But that's a collaboration, right? The collaboration of bringing it back to what you said before. You didn't have a tribe. I have a feeling, Sam, that you probably have a tribe within the artistic community. Am I wrong?
I don't know. That's right. And like it goes back to that. Once you've in the beginning, I always tell people shoot everything and then figure out what you don't like, because then and then get in a community, because people are going to come up to you and be like, hey, can you do this? And you go, in the back of your mind, you may go, I could, but I know that Giancarlo is actually probably the better fit for this. I think you should go with him. Oh, but no, I like your work. I was like, but you're asking for this, and I really want you to have the best experience if this is the route you want to go with. You realize what you're good at and what you're not good at, and what your friends are actually good at, and your friends will know what you're good at, and be like, hey, no, Sam does that thing. He does the dark and moody stuff. I think you should go that route. I don't know, man. Yeah, I just think around that space in regards to like getting around people. I love learning new things, even things that I'm not like even passionate about. Like I think your underwater photography, right?
Yeah, I'm getting back into it again.
Yeah. So
I'm
like
gonna try to take some photos in Peculiar for that too.
I don't know anything about underwater photography. I'll love to learn and jump in, and even if I had the tools to like know it, I'm not putting it as part of my workflow, but I would love to learn it. And be like, nah, John Carlos, your dude. You could go with him.
That is funny, man. That is funny. Just real quick before I pivot, WPPI in this case talk Peculiar, right? You're a photographer. I'm not talking about you. I'm hypothetical. You're a photographer, and you're contemplating going, right? Like, should I go? Should I not go? I know what I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for a convention that I went to, because I didn't know anybody. Now I know a bunch of different people. From your perspective, if you're on the fence for either Peculiar, WPPI, PPA, whatever it might be, why should you go to these conferences, man?
I think it's good to go to any one of these conferences, and they all have their pros and cons, but I won't get into the politics of these
It's a
different
whole different episode.
conferences. It's the whole episode, and we could start talking about that for days. I think getting around other people that are in your industry and being around, whether that's conference conversations, breakout rooms, lunchtime, dinner time, and being around other fellow creatives that are in your industry, it's needed. It's absolutely needed. Oftentimes, creatives live in silos. They live in front of their computers. They're oftentimes introverts who do not have an extrovert bone in their body. These conferences and these events provide an environment for you to be with your people. And whether that's peculiar, which we're both speaking at and we're both a part of, so everybody should go. I don't know what you're waiting for. Just sign up already. Or WPPI or whatever it is. Jump in and get around people. And for me, I'm an introvert through and through. It was only through the help of my wife that I've been able in the last 2 years to force myself to be an extrovert and start conversations and say yes to things. So like even our conversations of like, hey, you want to be on the, I would have been no. I would have said no. I would have said no to everything, every invitation, every anything I would have said no to. But in the last 2 years, I've realized that I need to say yes, that I need to get around people. I need to be around the community and so on and so forth. And it's been such an incredible eye-opening experience of not only a challenge to myself to say yes to things, but like just being around, like I didn't know how helpful it would be to hear other people that are in my industry going through the same thing and not feeling like I'm alone, or being or seeing, finally understanding how to get that result on that photo because I've been trying for years. I never knew. And they're unloading the secrets right there. They're doing it in front of you. Or
Yeah,
somebody's showing you behind the camera. You're going, how did you do that? And they could sit there and talk to you and walk you through it. Um, it's so much fun. So much fun. So yes, I 1000% encourage people to be at any kind of event where there's going to be your people, your tribe.
I would agree. I would agree. We wouldn't be talking today if that wasn't the case. And I want to pivot to the topic, man, that I have been wanting to talk about. I mean, your work is fantastic. Your photography work, legacy, man, legacy video.
Yep.
That is something that we briefly touched on it before. And ever since then, I've been thinking about it. I've been telling so many people about it. I'm like, this is fascinating. I mean, granted, it does have its own emotional weight, you having to bring this on. But could you share with people what you're doing with your legacy video?
Yeah. So I was prompted by a message from a friend, another photographer, who said, "Hey, I have a situation. There's a couple. The husband has been diagnosed with a rare blood type cancer situation. The doctors are giving him a year, and they want to do a video thing just to keep it because he's leaving a 1 and a 2-year-old daughter." And immediately my heart sunk. I have a
Right.
kid. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine being told by a doctor that I'm not making any of the milestones. So we didn't really know what to do. I got him kind of playing with his kids, dancing and whatever. And we talked about like just his life, talked about his parents, his upbringing, his life, and so on and so forth. And I kind of got a good chunk of life, right? And I wasn't satisfied at all. Like it was a great, banter back and forth and history. It was great. It was great. I think, you know, the kids would get a tremendous amount of value from hearing where they come from and who their dad is and who he was and blah, 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 blah. I was done with that and I was like, I think we need to do something else. I think we need to do something else. And if, with your permission, I would love to document a lot more and leave love notes from dad to your kids. So I thought about every mile marker, every mile marker that we thought as kids were super important, going from 9 to 10 and having double digits. And that in the case of these girls, whether it's a sweet 16 or graduating, driver's license, first relationship, first breakup, like all of the milestones, and him leaving notes for all of it, whether it was the breakup and being like, don't worry about it. I'm gonna haunt this person until the day they die, that type of thing, or whatever. And being able to have something to look forward to every mile marker. And after we were done, not only was I wrecked emotionally, my therapist bill has gone up the roof since I started the legacy videos, but I was satisfied. And I finally, for me, I made something. When I think about meaningful work, and I ask myself this question a lot when I do the boudoir stuff, like, am I making meaningful work overall? I'm making meaningful work for whoever's in front of the camera, but it's for this season, it's for this chapter, and it's for the specific thing. It's usually, if somebody books a boudoir shoot, it's because they want to get from point A to point B in this space of physicality, let's call it. But these legacy videos are something else. These legacy
Completely.
videos can be literally handed down from generation to generation as an heirloom, and hear where grandpa or great grandma or like your distant cousin, like, put the voice, the person, the questions. They're all like, after I've done several of them, I have like compiled like about 700 and some odd change questions for different scenarios, different things, different mile markers, everything from elders to veterans to end of lifers, cancer survivors, marriage, relationships, college, all of these people that are in different stages of their lives, constantly coming through and documenting a little bit of their mile markers, of their chapters, and cataloging their lives, and finding value in the story. And it's been incredibly rewarding, incredible to have people be open and vulnerable about things that they never shared with even their families. Like, I've had veterans open up to me and talk about the war, and then at the funeral, when they're showing the video, the family comes up to me and goes, he never spoke about the war. And we never asked him about it, but he told you. And they're like, I'm getting invited to like family functions and Thanksgivings and stuff. I'm like, yo, like I've legit opened up this thing for this family, and I've been able to give this to them as meaningful work. So yeah, man. And then it hit home as well. Like, seeing that entire situation, that first situation, I was like, I need to interview my parents because my kid is very young, and my parents are getting into their 80s. I don't know when they'll be gone, and I want my son to be able to hear the anecdotes, the jokes, and the history from them. And so I sit down with them all at any chance I get to document stories and have them recant the things that were hilarious to me as a kid, so that I can document them and one day show my kid when he can understand it all.
And I'm sure even yourself talking to your parents, you're learning
Oh,
along the way,
1000%.
because it wasn't until I hit my 30s, my mid 30s, that I actually started listening to my parents. Not listening for advice, but actually listening. And you're like, as a person, no longer as a mom, but like, wow, you have seen life since the 50s and on, from Venezuela to here, and you start to understand. And then, of course, as a parent, you begin to see things also as to why choices were made, that though you may not agree, you're like, I get it. All right. These are the cards you were dealt. You were not in the best financial situation, so you did with the best that you could with it. But legacy, man, legacy is just, to your point, you're leaving a generational gift to these families. And the love notes, I mean, that's just, man, that tears, at the feels, man,
I could
completely.
not make it through those interviews, bro. That first
How
interview
do you
was
know when you've had
rough.
enough, though? How do you know when to say we've had enough? That is such a difficult choice, Sam. How do you figure out when you're done?
I don't know. It's difficult because a lot of people, it's hard to talk about mortality, especially when you just got confronted with news and stuff like that. And people view mortality in different ways, depending on what, upbringing, religious backgrounds, and all this. Like, there's a lot of factors. So, in order for me to be able to walk in and treat the space with the sovereignty and the sacred nature that it deserves, I need to know where all of it comes from, so that I can be sensitive to the needs of the space. And I think you feel it You feel when you have to pull back a little bit and let them breathe,
Right.
and then dive in a little bit more, or say, you know what, we'll pick it up tomorrow. We'll pick it up next month. We'll pick it up another day. Or let's take five. Let's take 10. Let's get you some, like, you want some snacks? Let's look at some snacks. Let's get you a Snickers bar. And be steady and be patient and understand that if you were sitting in these people's seats, what
Right.
would you like to happen? How would you like to be treated? And navigate it in that way. Um, yeah, man, it's rough.
I'm curious though. With all of this, you're gonna live a long life, man. Are you recording anything now for your son or to leave a legacy? Does that make you want to record just in case? Because I mean,
Yeah, I leave little notes and I have them go up on my Google Drive, and I have a folder specifically for my son. Uh, it's little notes. It's just little notes, things that maybe happened during the day, or something memorable, or something, whatever, or a challenging moment. Hey, today I had to discipline you. You're 7 years old. Yo, I'm scared I may have traumatized you already, and like whatever. And but like being honest and open and vulnerable. Um, I think for me, living in a Latin household, and I was blessed enough because my dad became a pastor when I was born, that I was able to see him sensitive. I was able to see him tap into his emotions, but my brother, it wasn't the case. My dad was, forget about church, when my brother was born, and there's like this stark difference. Like my brother explains to me how he never got to experience any of that. He never got to see that side of dad, and that I was blessed to be able to see what a dynamic looks like in the range of emotions for a Latino man, because he is still, my brother is still working through that. He's still trying to navigate that because he never really had that mirror to look into. But yeah, man, it's crazy. And again, I attribute all my life experiences, whether that was living in Walmart or like the dips and valleys, they have brought me to this place to do the specific job, and it's prepared me for it. Like I don't think without any of that stuff I'd be prepared, or have the tools, or have the empathy to work through the questions, navigate through the rough patches, to be able to bring out something. Yeah, man. I probably wouldn't have been able to say it back then, but I'm incredibly proud of going through the dark times, because it's allowed me to tailor these things that I'm incredibly proud of.
it molds you into who you are
Yeah.
today, and I'm intrigued as to where do you see your art going in the future. I mean, do you have any new adventures within either videography or photography, or are you just going to dive deeper into the legacy videos?
I think right now, I recently got invited to document surrogacy pregnancy. Young lady, autoimmune, could not have the kid. They went the surrogacy route. And for me, when I think about surrogacy, I think celebrities. I don't want to get pregnant. Let somebody else carry the baby, and then it'll be my kid. Like that's the kind of like stereotype. But there's oftentimes people who want to have their family, that this is their route. It's either this or adoption, whichever. It's fine, whichever route you go with. But I was invited to this thing, and I was able to document it, and it brought me so much joy, because I was like literally a fly on the wall when I needed to be a fly on the wall, or I came close into it, and I was able to navigate and pull from, and again use the tools that I've gotten to get the story that I needed to produce something beautiful, beautiful. Like, and this is not like a pat on the back, but like I was even surprised at what I made. Like I looked back at the edit and I started just like crying and weeping, because I was like, this is beautiful. Like this story is beautiful. Like the fact that they did not give up. Like they had every every reason to be like, you know what? Screw it. This is not for us. It's not in the cards. It's not in the future. But they were persistent. They continue to push forward. And I was able to draw that story out. And I think Naked Humans started off as a boudoir brand. I mean, it's in the title, right? But I think the more and more and more that I'm in this space and I'm being offered opportunities to document moments and times, I think Naked Humans is more about us bearing our souls instead of bearing our bodies. And yeah, maybe I'll continue to do the boudoir stuff, but I think Naked Humans is going to encapsulate the entirety of what it means to be vulnerable and live in a space that is willing to tell a story, that is willing to be, I don't know, just allow life to flourish and make something beautiful out of the cards that you're dealt with.
100%. I mean, that vulnerability is really, it's crazy how when you think about what you started with Naked Humans and what you feel is transforming itself into its own its next phase, I guess you can say. And Sam, when you think about your own legacy as an artist, what are you hoping to leave behind?
I hope that I'm able to tell people's stories with integrity and vulnerability and transparency. And I hope to live my life that exact same way. Vulnerable, open, and transparent. Yeah. I've learned that oftentimes if we adorn ourselves with the illusion, people will believe that because that's the illusion you're putting out. But I think people resonate more with people who can be honest, open, and transparent. And it shows. It shows. You know when you're being sold, and you know when somebody's being transparent and being open.
And talking about legacy, I guess in this case, what kind of legacy you want to hope to leave behind for your son and your family?
I hope that generations that follow in my lineage are able to continue the storytelling route. That if not using the medium of art or the medium of creativity, that they're able to do that and facilitate that for people in a real way. It doesn't all have to be creativity, photo, video. I mean, years from now, it might be holograms. We don't know. It might be AI. It might be whatever. I don't know. But I hope that that's something that can be a part of the lifeblood of my lineage, is the fact that we're able to help people on their journey and be part of their story in a positive way.
I love that, man. I love that. One last question. If you can go back in time and give advice to your younger self, let's say the one that was sleeping at Walmart, what would you say to yourself?
Just wait.
Just write it out.
Yeah, write it out. Times get really dark. I'm going to say this particularly for creatives. It doesn't matter what route you are in. I think creatives suffer a lot in the depression and the mental health space. And when dark times come, it's usually darker than most other groups. I would love to encourage anyone who's in their Walmart episode or life part or chapter in their life to just wait. Just wait. I never knew that the stuff that I was going through was going to prepare me to have conversations with other people. I didn't know that it was going to give me the tools and the empathy that was necessary for me to be able to rally around other men going through divorce, rally around other people that are going through crisis, rally around people. It's not only the fact that I lost everything then, like my own personal family, like when I lived with my parents when I was a child, like we went bankrupt twice. Like we lived on the floor and had no furniture. Like I know what it is to have and I know what it is not to have. And I think every single one of those chapters in the moment sucks. And it's hard, it's rough, but it gives you these tools that if you wait long enough, you'll realize, damn, if I hadn't gone through that, I probably wouldn't be able to deal with this, or I probably wouldn't be able to navigate this conversation. Like this stuff has helped me in my relationship. This stuff has helped me. Like I know what I don't want in life and I know what I do want in life. Like it's very clear because of the things that I've gone through. So if I were to tell them anything back then, is wait, just hold on, just wait. because everything's gonna work out. If you wait long enough, man, everything's gonna work out.
That's perfect. That's perfect. In terms of, since we're going to see each other in a couple of months at Peculiar, what's a sneak peek, man? What are you talking about? What are you hoping to that people get from your conversations and your
I'm going to talk about
workshops?
video. I'm going to talk about the power of video and how, even in the smallest ways, even if you don't provide your clients with video services, how incredible learning at least the rules and how to work with video can exponentially push you further along in your business, further along in this thing we call social media. Like literally anything and everything, it can propel you. And we have the tools. Use the tools that you have, and things can open up. Doors and opportunities can open up. And in those moments where business and seasons may be slow, you have famine and feast. Guess what? Now you have the tools to pivot a little bit, record an interview, do a talking head segment, and still get paid and still have the bills paid and still get things done, even though they may not be your wheelhouse, but you have the tools to do so. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to chatting it up over in Peculiar. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you.
Amen, man.
Hopefully you haven't packed in your entire day, so I can at least get a photo or two of you in there.
I'm bringing my photo gear too. I'm bringing my podcast gear, but I'm also going to bring my photo gear too, so I can hopefully photograph some of the artists that are going there as well. Because why not? Why not? Everybody photographs differently. Before I forget, how do people find you, Sam? What are some websites?
Yeah, so Naked
Instagram,
Humans.
etc.
Yeah, Naked Humans without the vowels, NKDHMNS.com. And literally that in all the platforms. Naked Humans is everywhere. Yeah, yeah. If yeah, before I forget, if you are gonna go to the workshop that I have in September, the 2-day workshop with the 3rd day thing, anybody who listens, the coupon code is naked20, NAKED 20, to take 20% off. Those are for your listeners because I haven't even put that online yet. So
Nice, man. I'll make sure to put a link on the screen and put it in the bio so people can go ahead and do that. Was there anything I should have asked you that I forgot to ask you, Sam?
nah, man. Just want to encourage other creatives. This is the more and more I do this, the more and more I realize that it's important to empty my cup, not necessarily fill up everybody's, but empty mine. I would love to just get around people that I can give everything that I wish I had known back in the day, everything from client management software and all that other stuff, and workflows and triggers and getting organized with the business side, because Lord knows I don't have a business bone in my body. I need to live by structure and making sure that things are happening, that I keep a calendar and that everything's happening for me in the background, because all I want to do is be able to create things and make things. And yeah, man, that's it.
Well, this has been great, Sam, and I really appreciate you taking the time. We went over an hour, but man, I think it could have gone even longer because there was so much stuff I wanted to talk to you about. I may have to do a part 2 when I'm over there in Peculiar. It'll be easy because I have a little room set up and everything. So, but nonetheless, man, I really appreciate your time, Sam. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Can't press to stop record. There we go.